Folks, thank you so much for being with us today. We have such an incredible person. We have Michael Orstein. He's a former head coach of Washington and Jefferson College with us. He's retired now. He has an amazing story, actually way too many to tell. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to dig right in. You have so much background. I was looking at your resume and it seemed like, 3 or 4 pages isn't enough. So let's go ahead and hear a little bit about, your experience in the swimming world and what you've taken from it and what you've brought to it. So tell us a little bit about, starting here, where you're from and how you got started in swimming.
Okay. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I was introduced to a lot of sports at a young age. However, I gravitated to swimming because I was very successful in it. And my father liked the idea of it being a structured and disciplined sport. So I grew up through the YMCA network, and then later joined the Lancaster Aquatic Club.
Wow, that's interesting because I also grew up in the YMCA system. I think the YMCA does a lot for building young kids into young men. They do a great job with that.
Oh, there's no question. It was a great tool in which to get started.
Really kind of launched your whole career there. It's literally all the way through. Wow. And so who would you consider some of the influential people in your life and why?
Number one would have to be my father. He was very demanding and dictated a lot of my moves along the way, which we will get into later on. But he by far was my number one fan and so forth, very influential. Secondly, I'd have to say it was Coach John Apple, who was my first coach. And this guy was with me throughout my swimming career, as well as when I was a coach. I would use him as a sounding board whenever I'd have questions or concerns. And he was just an awesome educator / coach, if you will. Thirdly, obviously, I was under a tremendous legend of a coach, Coach Charles E. Sylvia at Springfield. And he was amazing. He was so intelligent. You really had to pay attention to him because he was talking way above your head as far as stroke mechanics and so forth. Another gentleman that always had time for you and truly cared and loved you. And these are 3 men, John, of uncommon integrity. So I was really blessed to have these 3 individuals prominent in my life. And I did have a lot of significant educators and coaches along the way, but these 3 individuals definitely stood out.
And what made you, when you were a kid and you had John Apple, right, as a coach to start with, is that right? And then what made you decide to go and decide on Springfield College as your school?
Okay, this is where it gets real interesting, John. My senior year, I did quite well at Manheim Township, and I was on a recruiting trip at Penn State. And I really wanted to swim at Penn State. My father and I went up there, had the tour, had lunch. I was really excited. I'm like, this is where I want to be. So we go into the exit interview, and my dad says, Coach, we don't want to waste any more of your time, but Mike won't be coming here. And I'm like, what are you doing, Dad? And he said, this isn't the right school for you. I'll see you next semester. You'll be so distracted. You'll get into all kind of stuff. This isn't the right place for you.
Wow.
So Coach Lou McNeil,
Yep.
said, Bill, I appreciate you being honest with me. What's Mike interested in? And he said, physical education, athletics. He wants to be a coach later on. And he said, I'll tell you what, if I can have him, I want my alma mater to have him.
Wow.
A grad of 52 from Springfield College. He said, I'll even write a recommendation for Mike. Is that a crazy story?
That is amazing.
So that tells you a little bit about my father.
Right.
He knew what was right for me. At the time, I thought that he was a little on the mean side, but he knew what was best for his son. So now I never saw Springfield College till they dropped me off first day of school.
Wow.
And being from Lancaster, I was kind of a rural pumpkin. And here I am being thrust into the second largest city in Massachusetts. And it was 9 hours away. And here I am. So I had to battle with homesickness and so forth. And I'd call home and say, I don't like it here. I want to come home. My mom would say, you got to talk to your dad because you're not coming home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, Mom, you got to talk to him. You got to talk to him. And she said, Mike, he's made up his mind. This is where you belong. And you just got to do it. Wow. So again, here's father knows best. And once swimming started, I got some structure into my day and I didn't have much time to think. And I just had the greatest experience there.
So tell us about your journey to York Country Day School.
Well, I guarded on the Stone Harbor Beach Patrol for 19 summers. And I ended up meeting some people. They liked the experience that I had in education and coaching. And they said, wow, you'd be perfect for York Country Day School, where our kids go. And they're looking for an athletic director. So I said, well, tell me a little bit about the school. So they did. I applied and I got the position. So, I mean, there was a lot of butterfly effect moments in my life. This was one of them where what if I hadn't been guarding on that street that summer? I would have never met them, never probably have gone to York Country Day School. So I get there, and my first week, the athletic director from York College calls me up, Jeff Gamber, and said, hey, we came across your resume. You'd look like you'd be an outstanding candidate for an opening we have here. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'm athletic director at York Country Day School. And he said, well, we own York Country Day School. So we can make this work out, Mike. So I went over there, and for 4 years, I had a dual role of athletic director / varsity coach at York College. I had a really positive experience at both the Country Day School, being athletic director, and head swimming coach at York College of PA.
So they kind of carved a position out for you because they had that ability to do both.
Yes.
So that tells you a lot about how valuable how much value they have in somebody. If they're willing to, make changes to their normal structure to have you do it, that says a whole lot.
Oh, I know. John, it was truly crazy, and obviously worked out best for what I wanted to do. Right. And that's be a collegiate coach.
Perfect. Right. Exactly. So it gives you that step right into it. Wow.
Yes.
Really leads you down that path. And then you spent 30 years at Washington Jefferson College. Tell us about that experience.
Okay. I get a call out of the blue from John Lockhart, who was the athletic director at Washington and Jefferson College. He said, Mike, I got your name from the swimming coach at Bowdoin and Williams. So, I mean, I never even applied for the job. It just so happened he called Charlie Butts at Bowdoin
Right.
and Samuelson at Williams, and they both said, you got a great guy in Central PA.
Wow.
So we went out there. It was kind of a doormat of a program. They weren't successful at all. But I did my interviews and I just fell in love with the people there that worked there. The president, the dean of students, the academic dean.
Mhm.
And I just thought, I can do something here.
Wow.
So next thing I know, I'm giving my 2-week notice
Mhm.
to York College and York Country Day School, and came out to Washington and Jefferson College.
Wow. And just had an amazing career there. I was just reading like some of the achievements that you've had with that school and your swimmers there. Just really exceptional.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It gave me the college gave me a great platform in which to attract quality student athletes, John. It's the 11th oldest institution in the United States. And that was a nice thing to have, recruiting quality student athletes.
Mike, a lot of people have, they like to talk about themselves and things like this. And I can see this, that based on what I'm looking at and what you've done, you are one modest person. You've had some amazing things happen, and the way you deal with this, and I'd like our audience to see this, is that all the success you've had, and you still make sure that everyone else that supported you along the way gets included in your conversation. And that's the way to deal with things. It's such a classy thing.
Thank you very much. I guess it's the way I was raised and so forth. But you're only as good as who you surround yourself with, John.
Yeah.
And there are certain characteristics that I look for in student athletes. Number one is character.
Yeah.
Are you going to be a good representation of me and the institution?
Mm.
Secondly, I used to look for commitment. Are you committed to maximizing your potential? And obviously, third, I'd always look for that diamond in the rough, a kid that got started late, that was athletic and wanted to learn, wanted to absorb what you were all about. And I had some tremendous people through that concept.
So when you were recruiting student athletes, I guess that's one of the things that you're saying. What generally would you look for? And you're saying diamond in the rough would be one of them. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I'd look for somebody that is, and I use the word green, is pretty much a novice, hasn't been swimming for 10 or 12 years, but maybe got started their sophomore, junior year, and so forth. And not only that, but maybe came from a rural school that really didn't have, a quality coach.
Right, like the opportunity to develop it, so you could then do your work. That's amazing. So from that standpoint, that some of these swimmers that might not be able to get into some schools could come to a great college. That's a great college, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a phenomenal college, right? And there's this great opportunity waiting for them, and somebody with an open mind that will develop them. I can't imagine how many people that you helped really change their lives, getting this great education, giving them a chance.
I'd like to think so. Yeah. I have a great alumni base that stay in contact with me nonstop. And they're like my sons and daughters.
Right.
And they know that I loved them, I served them, and I cared for them. And you can't do much more than that.
No, sure. It certainly comes across. You get a chance to meet you, you get the idea right away. And I'm guessing that came from all these different sources like John Apple and Coach Silva, your dad, right? Your whole everything that surrounded you and pushed you in the direction that you went through your whole career and life in there.
Yeah, I was certainly blessed and fortunate, John. I just had great examples throughout my career, and I was one that could have easily got sidetracked. And my dad saw early on that I needed structure and discipline, and I really owe a lot to him.
And swimming really does that for people, doesn't it?
I think it's the best sport to prepare you for life.
Yeah, I agree.
Because with all the hard workouts that you do and you don't think you can continue on, but you somehow put your head down and push off the wall and keep going. Or let's say in the summertime when the weather's inclement and the water's cold.
Mhm.
And a lot of people wouldn't even think about getting in, and there you go, getting in and have to do thousands and thousands of yards. I mean, it really, I think it prepares you for life.
What a great opportunity for all the people that went through and got your mentorship. So what were the significant parts of your program? And what types of things did you stress in it?
My thought process in my program was you can only get so strong just by swimming. The dryland training was the number one focus for us.
And that turns out to be, you were way ahead of your time on that too. As we start to watch the shortened right, the decreased yardage of today's.
Right. And that's what we did at Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were heavy into dryland training, and we didn't do a ton of yardage, but everything was specific. So in our dryland training program, I just wrote down a few things here. I'm a big believer, and we had a minimum of 12 on our pool deck of VASA trainers. I mean, the concept of pulling your body past your hands and concentrating on high elbow and focusing on the body surface of your hands and forearms, pulling yourself past your hands on a movable sled on a diagonal with resistant cords. I mean, I think they're the best thing on the market right now. We did a lot of medicine ball work for center core. We did stretch cords. We had dipping stations where we would do dips to build our upper body up. Jump rope. We had 4 ergometers, rowing machines, and we used to run. We used to do step ups. So what I did is I made our dryland the primary focus, because my feeling is I'm going to transfer that power into the pool, into your swimming. And not only that, but it was fun. The kids liked it. It gave them a variety of things to do. And I also made it very challenging. We did obstacle courses involving swimming and dryland. We did a thing called Colorado Rivers where we'd start off in lane 1. We had a separate diving well. We would do a gigantic zigzag, and we may do 6 or 7 of those. I mean, that was nasty. Right. And then what I would do is down at the diving end and the shallow end is I would have them do 20 push-ups, 30 sit-ups. They were so distracted of the pain I was putting them through because it was fun, it was different, and we had great success.
Sounds like I would have liked to swim there for you.
Yeah. And another thing that we did that I brought with us from Springfield is we used to do what was called cross pool sprints. And we only did like 2 or 3 of them, like every other day at the end of practice.
Mhm.
And what they worked on are your reaction times off the wall, where you were going across widthwise in the diving well. And I wanted them to simulate that they were a caged animal. And I was going to open and shut the cage as quickly as possible. You had one opportunity to get out.
Wow.
So what they were is they were all gauged to anticipate when I was going to say, ready, go. And then they shoot off the wall. And it was amazing, because if you were coming to watch one of our swim meets, you didn't even need to know if we were in the odd or even lanes. We were the first ones off the block.
You could tell
But
right
nobody
away.
works, John, nobody works on that.
Yep.
Like, and it's huge. It was amazing. I mean, our people were the first ones off the block, and I mean, it was ridiculously obvious.
Mhm.
But it was a big part of our program, and it was something that I brought with us from Springfield.
That's fantastic. So what are some of the highlights of your career? We've heard all your building and amazing tools that you're using here. What are some of the highlights of your career, the way you see it?
Well, I had an opportunity to coach my son and daughter in college, and that was priceless.
And almost unheard of too. So congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Our teams consistently made the Scholar All-American team for having one of the highest GPAs in the country, which I'm very proud of. Obviously, we rewrote the record books, both at the school, conference level. We had a number of All-Americans. I also had the pleasure of guiding my daughter to 8 national titles while she was at Springfield, and she also was a national record holder in the 200 IM. She was an amazing swimmer, left a real legacy at Washington Jefferson College. But probably the thing I'm most happy about, John, is the men and women that I produced as people. I mean, they had a great reputation on campus. I used to constantly hear from professors and saying, hey, Mike, I don't know what you're doing in your program, but you have the nicest, kindest people in our class. They're well prepared and so forth. And you know what, John? What more can you ask for?
Mike, you're just on the right side of life.
Well, I'd like to think so. I've had a lot of, I call them butterfly effect moments that I took the right path.
Wow, incredible. So it's almost a moot question, but I'm going to ask it anyway here.
Okay.
What has swimming meant to you?
Oh, it's been my whole life. It's taken me to some exciting places and has made me extremely happy. I feel like I should do a mic drop right there, John. Because I mean, swimming has been everything. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that I made a living doing this.
Right.
And getting paid. You know, it's just been great. I've been a part of developing many young people's lives, and can't put a price tag on that.
I always figure if you can leave this earth when we all do, and you have a smile on your face because you know what you did.
Yeah.
You did right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So are you presently doing anything with swimming at this point, or how?
I am, John. The last 3 years, I've been heavily involved in this mentoring program through the College Swim Coaches Association of America. I'm a gold member because of my years of experience. And then what they do is they assign me a silver and a bronze coach. Mm-hmm. Silver meaning somebody that's been in coaching collegiately for like 8 to 12 years. And then the bronze would be somebody that's a novice.
Mhm.
And we would have Zoom meetings once a month and talk about a variety of topics. So it's been really rewarding for me to give back to a sport that I love and so forth. And also it's to honor a coach that I knew, Tony Lisa from Rowan. And it was named after Tony, who I had a close relationship with. So I thought it'd be a great way to honor him as well as give back.
And so you saw a little bit about what fluid mechanics does, and we've gotten a little chance to kind of show you some of our things on what we call our fast track, things like that. So what do you think about what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish with this world stage and things like that?
I'm in awe. I really am, John. I think it's an amazing library of information. I like the way you break it up into different categories so people can pick and choose. And I just think it's brilliant. I'm just glad it's out there now, because it would have been something that would have been truly beneficial for me as a swimmer, a parent, a coach. I mean, it's all there for the picking. And I think you touch upon a lot of key subjects. So keep it up.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. So just a couple more questions. Are there any books that you feel would be beneficial to our viewers that you've read along through your years?
There are. And John, I'm not a reader.
Okay, I'm with you.
I mean, I'm a slow reader and so forth, but I have a few here. I'm a big John Gordon fan. This is my favorite. The Carpenter, The Energy Bus. It's a must read. I don't care if you're an athlete, a parent, whatever, coach. It's a great book. Now I do have some swimming related books. Making Waves by Shirley Babashaw.
Oh, Shirley Babashaw, sure.
Oh, and what they went through in the 76 Olympics,
right,
with the steroid use and so forth. I mean, it was unbelievable. Silver Lining by Elizabeth Beisel. Blueprint about Katie Huff. Swimming with Faith, Missy Franklin, and Michael Phelps's No Limits.
So if you're a coach or swimmer, you're in the swimming world interested in it, those are phenomenal books.
They really are. They really are.
On your list. Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. And so this is a interesting question I got to ask you. How do you think you'll be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a loving and caring coach, probably foremost. I was an activator. I knew how to get kids motivated within to peak at their high level. Also, I think I was pretty good at putting together a lineup, John.
Uh-huh.
I was a master at putting, if there was any way I could possibly win, I found that way. And
that takes a lot of creativity, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It takes a lot of
pressure the right people in the right way.
Right. And one thing I never did, John, is I never ran the score up on anybody.
Right.
Once the meet was underway, you swim exhibition. When I see some really lopsided scores, it says a lot about the coach.
Yeah.
And what kind of message are you sending to your athletes? And I think I was fun. I made things fun. But most important, they knew that I loved them and cared for them.
You can really feel that. So Mike, in the book of your life, which has had many chapters and many incredible achievements, I'd like to ask you, what's the next chapter? Do you know?
I know there will be a next chapter. What it's going to be And what I'm going to do, I'm not sure. But if anything, this COVID-19 gave you a lot of opportunity to do a lot of thinking. I got into meditation, and there will be a next chapter. And the only thing I can assure you, John, is it's going to be exciting.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure today, and I hope you'll come back and join us again. I want to hear some more about those great stories you have.
I would love to. I got a lot. I can talk forever, John.
Fantastic. We'll do it again. Terrific. Thank you so much, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time.